We know this Texans team isn't beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. We know the Texans aren't beating the Kansas City Chiefs. But we also know the Chiefs can't be beaten. We're learning this in real time. The Chiefs can be beaten. The fact that the Chiefs struggled today to beat the Carolina Panthers is, number one, that is a tip of the cap to Dave Canales, Bryce Young, and that Panthers team. You know what? They were dead in the water early in the season, and they had won a couple of straight games. They had a bye. They fought tooth and nail today against the Chiefs, and they put a real scare into the two-time defending Super Bowl champions. And I would say right now, Bryce is playing much better. The defense is playing much better. They were historically trash as of like 3 weeks ago. And Canales looks like he's got the guys pointed in the right direction. So give Canales and the Panthers credit. But it feels to me, number one, the Chiefs lost the perfect season last week in Buffalo and then said, they exhaled. That if that wasn't the goal, they had trouble today figuring out what the new goal was. Okay? That's the first thing. And maybe it's a blip. Maybe it's a moment in time. Maybe it's as simple as, you know what? Bad team. They overlooked them. They found a way to win anyway, and it's just a blip on the radar. However, I wonder openly if this team is gassed. And I don't think it's crazy to suggest that while the Chiefs have been known for mess around, and then turn it on when it matters most, mess around, and then their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, figures it out at the end, mess around, get to the playoffs, and then just run the gamut or run the gauntlet. I think this year could be different. I think this year they are running on fumes. I really do. I really, really do. And they have had injuries, okay? They have had 2 significant blows to their wide receiving core with Hollywood Brown and then Rashee Rice. But this is a Chiefs team that is really troubled in clicking into whatever gear they can get to unless it's absolutely mandatory. And even then, sometimes they don't get there. And we're waiting because none of us want to be wrong on this. I get it. You don't want to be wrong on the team that just keeps gashing through the playoffs because you look like a stupid idiot. It happened to the Patriots and naysayers on Tom Brady how many times? This is the year he falls off a cliff, and then it hangs with you forever. Max Kellerman can't ever live that thing down. So nobody wants to say it. And combine that with last year, they never looked great, and then they just did everything they had to do in the playoffs and won another Super Bowl. But I think it is catching up to them. I really do. I think it's catching up to them, and they can be beaten in the playoffs. And look, they'll probably just figure it out until the AFC Championship game because that's who they are. But I even think if Buffalo got them in the divisional round, even if they had to go to Arrowhead, I think the Bills can win that football game. I have more confidence every week that the Chiefs can be beaten because I respect the journey, the history, how taxing it is to do it more than most because, of course, I just love the history of the NFL. And no matter how great your team is, nobody's been able to go three-peat. And there's a reason. The 70s Steelers couldn't do it. The 80s Niners couldn't do it. The 90s Cowboys couldn't do it. And the Patriots couldn't do it. And there's a reason. All of those teams were great. All those teams were historically great. They couldn't do it because I believe you end up running out of fuel. There just comes a time when, there's muscle memory, and there's institutional knowledge, and yes, it's usually your quarterback that can pull a rabbit out of the hat because you've won so many times before, or your defense comes up with a big play, or something you can figure out, you can crack the code. But a lot of those teams end up losing in the playoffs that third year because they're just straight gassed. And then you reboot, you recalibrate, and now you have a refreshed look on, man, we didn't do it last year. Let's go back out and do it this year. And I think the Chiefs are suffering from that. I think they can be beaten this year. I really do. I think they can be beaten. And everyone's going to be scared to say it because they're the Chiefs. And I understand why. But I feel more confident by the day that we are not seeing the Chiefs hoist that Vince Lombardi. And they've got the heart of a champion, and they've got the quarterback. And so would I be surprised if they kind of like jerry-rig this thing into the Super Bowl and suddenly put 10 points up in the first quarter against the Lions or something in the Super Bowl, and everybody's going, oh my God, they're going to do it again? Nothing would surprise me. But I think they're losing in the playoffs this year. I really do. I do not think they're three-peating. We're seeing some of the facade crack.